Boss wants me to talk more and engage with the department. Okay. My department is about 10 guys, older and much more conservative than me. Their talks are mostly sexist, racist, homophobic, and elitist. To keep the peace, I keep the conversations light and work-related the few times our paths cross. Also, my desk is down the hall from the department in overflow, along with other miscellaneous workers, so overlap is minimal between us. My coworkers apparently complained to my boss that I was too quiet. Despite good work, I had a bad review for not talking. No raise for me. Fine. Next day, I was at my desk, at most for 2 hours out of 8. Want me to tell you how about women are only good for reading the Bible? As a bi guy, it feels to have a Marine read the Bible. Let's unpack all those ignorant comments of yours. We are done arguing? Up next, random facts. No, let me complain to you guys about my classes. Next, show me what you're doing and how. I already know, but I missed out on the raise because I wasn't engaging with everyone. So now everyone has to teach me something. You don't want to engage with me? It's okay. I can talk to the back of your head too. I like to monologue. When I get called into the boss's office at the end of the day, I explain why I got no work done in 8 hours. I get you're angry, but let's be honest here. If HR finds out about all the things we all did today, we would have an empty department. I got my raise, a request to stop harassing my coworkers, and motivation to look for another job. Well, that was a mixed bag of emotions there. On one hand, you got a bunch of redacted statements that I can't repeat on YouTube, which is why I replaced them with other words. And on the other hand, you have a company who requires their employees to actually communicate with each other, possibly for work-related reasons. However, I see where this guy might have gotten just a wee bit offended when he had to engage with people he really didn't want to engage with. And to be honest, I can't blame him, but at the same rate, if it's a requirement from your job, I guess maybe you should probably talk a little bit. Maybe not necessarily about the same things, but just a little bit. Though, is he justified to take it to a next level? Yeah, probably. Personally, I've never heard of a company that required people to really talk to each other like this. In my job, it's a pizza place, it's a kitchen. We're required to talk to each other so we don't accidentally do something wrong that might negatively affect someone else, such as carrying a knife and not telling people you're walking behind them. That's sort of really important. Though there are a group of individuals that go into my back room that have this roundtable CNN discussion about everything. And I don't like to engage in it personally, but that's them. That's them. That's all fine. When it comes down to work, though, we all communicate. So I'm not sure how to look at this one. I'm not going to say anything negative or positive against it. So tell me what you guys think in the comment section below. You want to speak to my manager instead of me? Sure. Prior to being a bartender, I worked at a retail chain called Big W. I'm a nerd. I tend to switch to autopilot when tired. Almost always at the end of shifts. And can be a dick when annoyed. Me in a nutshell. It's a slow Wednesday afternoon. The AC is broken again, and it's about 5 degrees Celsius hotter inside than it is outside, 29 degrees Celsius. I'm in autopilot, rigor mortis smile on my face, and retail greetings are droning out of my throat. A guy walks into my register demanding a refund for something trivial. Probably his panties were in the wrong color, I don't remember. I inform him that in a monotone voice that refunds are issued by my supervisor, not me. There's surprisingly a substantial line at the supervisor's desk. People wanting cigarettes, refunds, or information. He informs me that he's not waiting that long for something trivial. He demands I do it because even someone as dumb as you can do it. Well, that snapped me out of autopilot and the smile fades. I repeat in a much more direct tone. Only the supervisor can do refunds. The customer is having none of it. Refund my item. He demands again, saying it very slowly, as if I'm the dumbest potato in the strawberry patch. I am unable to... He cuts me off. I want to speak to your manager. I don't want to talk to you. Now, this is where people need to be careful with their words. As a cashier, I report directly to my supervisor, one of the two at the desk. They're in charge of me. My manager sits out back managing the store, and usually never has to interact with customers unless the supervisor calls him. So I nod, calling through the headset to my manager. Let's call him Fred. Fred's a great guy. He tells jokes, he's always ready to help his friends, and he's a caring soul. He's also mute. And after wrapping his youth around a tree as a teen, he is also deaf. As such, he knows Auslan, Australian Sign Language, but can't read lips to save his life. I also can't speak Auslan at all. This probably took about 5 minutes for someone to alert Fred that he is needed and for him to come down. All this time I'm smiling, but I'm not saying a word to the gentleman, as he told me to. He comes up to the registers, sees me waving him down, and pulls out his PDA to communicate with me. "What's up?" Fred types. I take the PDA and type, "Customer has a complaint, wants to speak to my manager," not me. Fred raises an eyebrow at me, and I just shrug. The guy turning red with anger, probably thinking we're ignoring him. Fred turns to the guy, who launches into a full verbal assault that would curdle milk chocolate. Something about incompetent employees and terrible service. Fred just stands there. Eventually, the guy runs out of breath, and Fred has a chance to show him the PDA with words. "Sir, I am a deaf mute. Please use this to communicate with me." The guy practically screams and storms out of the store. Now, I love this one because it's another entitled customer that got exactly what he deserved. What I find more commendable about this story is that they have a manager who's both deaf and mute, which is awesome. Good job on him. However, I'm not sure if I like that he got thrown in the middle of this. He had no idea what was going on, and the entire time you're literally yelling at a wall. It's his job. I get it. But this is another story about an entitled customer who feels it necessary to go into a store and scream at an employee because the employee can't scream back. Just because it says retail doesn't mean personal punching bag. So, yeah, he got what he deserved. Take my spot. Have fun waiting. This story happened to my dad, but it's my favorite story that he tells me. A little info up front. We are from the Netherlands, and my dad knew the woman was Belgian due to her license plates and accent. My dad drives a truck with a crane on it. One day, he had a spot reserved, so he could do his job. The spot was marked with cones, and upon arrival, around 12 or so, he got rid of the cones to be able to park his truck in the spot. Just after he took away the cones, a Belgian lady parked her car there. My dad walked up to her and nicely explained that the spot was reserved for his work and asked her to move her car. She replied that she would be back in an hour and that my dad would have to wait. My dad explained that he couldn't wait because the customer would have to pay for another hour of work, and that if she left, he would park his truck anyway, and that the stamp legs would block her off. He added that this would mean that she would have to wait until he was done with his job around 5 p.m. The lady left, and my dad parked his truck, and the way that the stamp legs were positioned, there was almost no room to spare in front and behind the car. About an hour later, she got back, and manly demanded my dad move his truck. The crane was up, and there was stuff in it, so he couldn't. He told the woman that he had warned her about not being able to leave before she left. The woman got really mad and called the police. The police arrived and asked the woman for her part of the story. Then they asked my dad for his side, and he explained what happened. The officer asked the woman if my dad had warned her before she left, and she answered with a yes. The police officer simply told the woman, "You can get your car after 5 p.m. The woman left furious, and my dad finished his work with a huge smile on his face. And this is another prime example of just move your car. Now, I've personally never worked a job where you had to drive a truck and put it somewhere, and it might or might not inconvenience a person or two. But in this particular instance, he had the cones marked it off, and it was meant so he couldn't inconvenience anybody else. And this lady went and made it inconvenient for him. So he made it inconvenient for her. And in honesty, it's one of those prime examples of don't feel so damn entitled, and you won't wind up in a situation like this. So that's my stories for today. I want to know what your guys' personal opinion about them is. My personal favorite one was the middle one, where we're talking about the deaf mute manager. That was actually choice. I like that one. I want to know what your guys' favorite story is. And also, if you guys got any insight on any of the stories that we covered today, please tell me in the comment section below. I'd be more than happy to engage with you guys. I try to talk to everybody as much as possible. Most of the comments that are left, I always respond to, and it really makes me happy to see you guys there. Again, I do have a Discord server. The link to it is in the description below. I'll also right there real quick. And if you want to join me on Twitter, I have a Twitter account. And also, if you guys are new here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to ring that bell so you can get more of these little Reddit readings. And also, click that like button because for some reason it does things. Thank you guys very much for watching. Thank you very much for following along. And as usual, and as always, my friends, stay frosty and keep moving forward.